I actually did do a bunch of research on ADHD and procrastination.
Oh,
Mm.
I see. Okay.
But that's going to be probably more than one episode because there's so much on it.
Probably. And I
Yeah.
think it relates to what I was texting you about before as well, which
Mm,
is like the giving yourself permission to try things.
maybe,
I think it's connected
maybe,
for me.
maybe.
But yeah, do you have like a framework? Do we have a like structure today?
No, that would
Okay, we're
require
structureless, which is how we like it.
executive function in my pre-cerebral cortex, which and also not
What?
procrastinating because I don't know if you call it procrastination when you don't when you don't plan something ahead of time, or if that's just like an ADD thing. Um,
That's just acting on impulse. And I don't think you always have to have something planned.
yeah,
I think there are good impulses.
yeah,
And then I think I talked about too how Kevin like talks about that and uses that to his advantage. It's like
right, yeah,
instead of impulse control being like a negative, it's I act on my impulses in a positive way.
yeah,
People, when I think about the people, all of those sorts of things.
right,
Um, and then and then you can lean into that as a strength.
yeah. Don't lean too far, you fall over.
I feel like I look too buttoned up today. Do I look like
No,
it's like very
why are you judging yourself?
my Ralph Lauren? I don't know. Gap. I would say probably more Gap, but it's my Canadian tuxedo as well. Should
What
I?
is,
That's
yeah.
when you wear like jeans, full jeans.
Oh, just all
That's what
jeans.
they always called it when we were
I
little.
thought
I
that
don't
to
know
me
if
that
that's
makes me
offensive
think
or
of
not.
Bruce Springsteen,
Oh
working his
yeah, the
thing kind of thing.
boss.
Yeah, you should add a jean jacket on top of a jean
Oh, I do.
shirt.
I have a couple different ones,
Wow,
a couple
you
different
you want to
styles.
go get one?
Not really. Don't tempt me though, because I probably would like I almost said yes.
Yeah, next time, some other
And then
time.
I'd be like running around and you'd be like,
I can't even match you. I don't have a jean shirt or a jeans
mm,
jacket. I may have to fix that.
you probably do.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Yeah.
Let's go with your impulse. Let's talk about this not giving yourself permission to try things. And if we
Mm.
have time, we can, or if it fits, we'll get into procrastination, or we'll just procrastinate
I
that
know.
topic.
Is that procrastination? I think it might be.
No, that's just sorting. We're just prioritizing.
Let me move my airing out
Yeah,
cooler
it's very
out of
unprofessional.
frame here. I don't think that that's helping us at all. Professionalism.
I don't know if it's worse to see you push it away or for it to just be there, but it's over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, no, I was just thinking yesterday just about how the reason essentially that I've done a number of things over the past year more in my life is because I've actually given myself permission to do them
Mm,
and not told myself a story about not being good at it
mm.
or this has never worked before or whatever idea I could come up with in my head is go see that distant future that I'm projecting. This thing won't work because of this, or
Let's
I
do
won't do
give
that.
me
I
an
just
example. Give me an
time.
example. Give me an
Like,
example.
okay, so first I would say like drums, which we talked
Drums.
about. It's been like a surprising entree into this whole thing. Yeah, love playing drums, getting really pretty good at it, but need
Cool.
to do more practicing. We've talked about this. But I've been playing regularly, almost every day. And I never thought I would be able to play drums. It was always something that I was like, oh, you can't do that. You don't know how to do that. Just focus on the guitar. You still haven't like, gotten in. And it's maybe guitar isn't your instrument right now. Maybe try the drums. And it took the pandemic for me to just be like, fuck it, I'm going to learn how to do drums. And I'm
Yes.
just going to give myself permission to try it and know that I'm not good at it. And that's okay. But over time and doing it more, I got better and better. And it took a while, but I had to suck first and be okay with that and give myself permission to try it. Recently, I told you I was working on some artwork that is now up at the gallery, the staff gallery at Yellow Springs Brewery. And I was like, I had to give myself permission. And I procrastinated it because I was like overthinking it. And Kevin suggested this thing, and I was like, yeah, actually, that would be really cool if I did artwork with the mammogram images that I have. And so I went for it. And he coached me a little bit, honestly, to get it done. And I had him as another designer and artist to bounce things off of, which I think was
Hmm.
really helpful always. But I gave myself permission to create art and to be the artist that I am.
Yeah.
And I created stuff that I'm really proud of in a very short amount of time and got it out there because I didn't overthink it, because I just went and I did it and I gave myself permission to try. And I think so often, so many people, definitely me for a very long time, have been like afraid of failure or not doing it as well as we would like to, or whatever the reason is. We're still not giving ourselves permission to try it. And so it won't happen.
Hmm.
And I think of, I'm not going to say that I wish I had done this or that sooner. I think this is all happening in a great way. And I'm feeling
Hmm.
really positive about it. I just, I don't want to waste time anymore, like not giving myself permission to try the things that I really want to try.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I do, you wondered if I would relate to that. I completely do.
Mhm.
Um,
I thought you
and
might.
there, I have a couple thoughts on that. Number
Yeah.
one, I had a similar thing. Like pandemic was drums for you, pandemic was art for me.
Mhm.
And I really don't know what the moment was when I decided to try it or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's very similar to, I want to say it's similar to stand-up comedy because I never thought I could be a comedian.
Yeah.
And so this is the point I want to make. I think part of this is that we think of, am I an artist? Am I a drummer? Am I a
Right.
comedian? I'm going back to rock climbing. Am I a rock climber? That's the wrong question to ask because of course you're not. You've never done it before. So how do you know you can't be that, right? So
Right.
this identity thing can get in our way. Even with rock climbing, I'm going back to that and I'm like, I think of how good I was when I was at my best compared to
Yeah.
how I am now. And I have to go, it's okay that you're not that climber right now, but
Yeah.
I can still use identity to help me because I can go, I don't always have a climbing partner or whatever, but I am a very experienced climber and I'm the
Mhm.
guy that's going to shut this place down, like regardless of who's there or when they leave or what, just using identity as a commitment. But it's the corollary is because you said one time you wanted to hear about why I'm not doing art. Right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it could be similar to why you're just not inspired with guitar right now or whatever. I think that's part
Yeah.
of it. But I also think I hit a wall where for the first time ever, I tried to do a hobby not for other people's approval. Because stand-up comedy, you have to get a laugh, you're not funny, and that is a form of approval. But with
Yeah.
art, I just put it out there. I didn't worry too much about likes or followers or whatever. But eventually got to the point where I realized if I really wanted to find out if people like it and would buy it, I would have to do a lot of stuff to prepare it and promote it and sell it. And
Uh-huh.
number one, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to do
Yeah.
the art. Number two, I was afraid of failure and that I'm not a good artist. So,
I can tell you, this is not just because you said that. Your artwork is amazing. I love a lot of it. Like when I told you I wanted some for my walls, and Kevin does too, that's not blowing smoke. That's real. I think you've always been talented at art since you were young. And I'm like, and me too. We've always been creative.
mhm.
But somewhere along the way we told ourselves that we couldn't for some reason.
Yeah.
And maybe that some of that goes back to that plan B stuff we've talked about before, where it's like, oh, how are you going to make that a thing? And that was part of just the time that we grew up in and our upbringing. No fault to go around there, but
I also think it's when you look at families and the evolution of their kids through economics, just for example, our parents did pretty well economically and always wanted better for their kids.
mhm,
But their parents were farmers or teachers or
yeah,
whatever, came from the depression.
ministers.
Yeah, ministers.
Yeah.
So they were very practical. And so we
Hmm.
got to explore art a little bit, but we're still making it kind of part of our profession. And your kids have a chance to be told, no, this could be a real thing for you.
You can do
Do it.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we understand the need for that encouragement for it. And it just
Yeah.
wasn't even a part of our parents' world, I think, to even think that way.
Right.
So,
And it's just, it is a totally different world. And like, we're like, look, you might go to college, but you don't have to. Like it all depends. Like, no, literally, if you want to do, and I'm sure there's a number of things like this. If you want to do motion design like your
yeah,
dad, like you could go online and go on School of
right.
Motion, learn how to do it and start getting jobs
Yeah,
and start your professional career. You could start filmmaking now. You could go to Wright State Film School. You could go to a design school nearby. You could any number of things. If you don't want to do design and you want to do something else, great. Like
yeah.
we can help you out there. But
I look
it's just
back and I'm
there are
like,
so many opportunities.
if we hadn't had like I felt, maybe you agree, at our high school, a kind of pressure to become something specific, very white collar, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I sometimes look at people that started doing like plumbing or electrician work when they were like 18 or 19. I'm like, man, I could have done that. That's a really well laid out career. You get to retire, a pension, or I could
People
have
are
gone to
always
the
going to need your
military.
help.
Say what?
People are always going to need your help.
Yeah, that's right. It's a solid career.
Yeah,
Um, and there are a lot of downsides to a lot of the white collar stuff as well. So,
that's true.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I think that's the thing. And lots of people are realizing that just the world is different. And like all industries are different now.
yeah,
Like even if there hadn't been a pandemic, which I think threw it off. When you think of things in the universe, like everything's spinning, and then one thing comes in and it just goes off. Like
yeah.
that's what I think of the pandemic
Here's
as
the thing,
doing.
because,
But
and we can tangent a little bit on this, but when people
yeah.
refer to the pandemic, I think a lot of time they're not just talking about the health stuff. They're talking about how it interrupted the world, made them
Yes.
stop and think, but also became a huge catalyzer of the polarization we're experiencing. And that's a
Yeah.
whole different thing that started with other things. Didn't start it, but yeah.
I'm like, we're not going there today.
No, maybe maybe
Maybe one day.
after a few drinks or something. But hey, you got to know your audience. So
Yeah. All I'm gonna
maybe
say is I echo what Kevin said this morning from the other room. He said, we need a young president.
no,
And then I hear Pete Buttigieg on the news from the other room yesterday morning, and I was like, I know that super intelligent, awesomely spoken voice, like Pete Buttigieg, who I absolutely would have voted for.
yeah. Well, it's
Um,
funny because I think I like to hope that regardless of my political leanings, I would have respected Obama as such a great communicator, role model,
yeah,
example, very positive person, whatever.
people either think
But
he's the best or the worst, right?
yeah, but the old president thing, I was like, we did it. We've got our first fully embalmed president. We did it, guys. Good job. Uh,
Yeah, just
anyway,
everybody's too old. Anyway, that's all I was
tangent.
gonna say
We
about
should have a tangent
that.
song. We went on a tangent.
Tangent,
It was
we're
so
on a
fun.
tangent.
We were on a tangent.
I
Okay,
think you
so
gotta decide a style first, but we'll get
I
there.
don't care. I like our little songs. I was thinking again about making that one we did the theme for the podcast. We'll see how if it's good enough, and then have a little tangent song that we
Yeah,
wrote before and after tangents.
yeah.
Just make
Tangent on a tangent.
a tangent from a tangent. Let's
Yes,
talk
tangent from a
about
tangent.
embalming for 3 hours.
Oh God. Okay. We were on a certain track. I'm definitely very like when I think we've talked about this before. You are like you're definitely hearing the person talk.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden your brain checks out to a different place. And sometimes it's on a different thought, and sometimes it's just you're just gonna
It's in the dead zone.
yeah. Dead
um,
zone. Yeah. That's where
yeah. Well,
I've gotten there a couple times this morning just because I'm so tired.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, let's try to find our way back
Let's find
to
our way back.
the
Let's
main path we were talking about. What the heck were we talking about? Oh,
giving yourself
yeah.
permission to do things. And yeah, I think a big component, and it's funny, it's not so surprising that you identified this for you as well, is that it's a fear of failure thing. And
Hmm.
which is, it's just so dumb to me when I think about it now. But it has been such a big thing for me through so much of my life.
Let's go deeper with that, because if we really want to talk about failure and fear, that's great. But I think there are other things in there too,
Other things at
right?
play.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's part of it. I don't think
Yeah,
it's the whole thing because I'm not always afraid to try
right.
something. You know,
Right.
I
Because
think
what does that really mean to fail? Like that you're not going to be like stellar right away, or that people won't like it, or what are you actually failing at?
I don't even know.
See, that's why I think it's other things.
Yeah, it probably is.
I'm just saying, so like for
I'm
me,
like,
the
I'm
reason,
sure it's this. Yeah, you're probably right.
and I think when you brought this topic up, I was walking around before the podcast thinking, I think I actually got better at this at a certain point where I was just like, no, I've done a lot of different stuff. It's been fun. Some of it I've been good at. I've enjoyed it. I'm allowed to do this. And I think part of that also comes from, okay, I got an established career. We're okay. I've worked through a lot of issues, blah, blah, blah. I'm in a place where now I'm like, okay, I'm clearly having first world problems. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
pretend like I should have third world problems. I'm just going to try to create the best life for me and the people around me that I can. And part of
Yeah.
that's enjoying new things. And I love new things, discoveritis.
Mm.
If I want to do art, I'll do art. What was the most recent thing? I think go back to climbing.
Yeah.
But that's the interesting thing. As I was coming home from climbing yesterday, I was like going back to the things that I found that I loved in my 30s.
Yeah.
Like I know I love stand up. I know I love comedy, rock climbing, music. I'm not sure yet because art was so new if it
Yeah.
really is going to be a long-term thing.
I like that you are getting into, like you said, you're going to be in a musical.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's a really nice way to move forward with like performance
Yeah.
in like music and like acting.
And combining comedy and music,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
always thought I should do
Schmigadoon.
that. Huh? Say what?
Schmigadoon.
Schmigadoon. Yeah, and I always thought I should do that, but I thought, oh, it'd be like Flight of the Conchords, and I just couldn't write any songs like that.
Oh gosh. That's the thing, then is the comparison. And it's the same thing. Like I even listening to like I was listening to the Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast, which I really enjoy. He was talking to Jake Johnson, and it's still that thing where everyone's, oh, just because everybody's have a, did you go through this thing of like everyone's got a podcast and
Yeah, I
too
know.
late? And it's no, because and it's same with anything else. Like it's the same thing I would tell my kids that, and this is one of the perks of being a parent is that you realize, okay, I'm telling my kid this.
Hmm.
I would tell my best friend this. Tell yourself those same things, right?
Hmm.
Be a good
Hmm.
friend and and guide for yourself.
Right.
That just because other people have done the same type of like endeavor before doesn't mean that yours is not valid.
Yeah. And really,
You are
yeah.
the only person who thinks like you and will create like you, regardless, even if you try to reproduce what somebody else did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Not directly,
I do
but
like I put out some songs on Spotify the last time because I had done Ableton for a while and didn't, then I was like, these aren't good enough. And then came back,
mhm.
did it, put them, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna put them out, see what happens. And of course, again, like resounding silence because you gotta promote these things, you gotta be an artist on
Yeah.
tour, all that stuff's very difficult. But I did do some that are funny. I did one that I enjoyed, which is about a guy with social anxiety, social phobia who's leaving his house. And he's just saying stuff like, hey, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna meet people. It's gonna be great. They're gonna love me. And I'm like, hey, there's that guy. I love that guy. And it's just like this guy,
Practicing.
yeah, pepping himself up to leave the
Yeah.
house, which is
Yeah.
such a, the funny thing is in my mind that it's such an easy thing for so many people to do, but this
Mhm.
guy has to go to this whole other place just to fantasize
Mm.
about how great it's going to be, and he has to go out and be the guy.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I think that's the thing. Like we put all this pressure on ourselves,
Yeah.
and ultimately it's pretty selfish.
Hmm.
Like we're thinking that, and that's what I was thinking about a little bit ago too.
Yeah.
It's regard to this whole give yourself permission thing is I was nervous about my artwork going up,
Mm-hmm.
partly because now my breast x-rays are up on the wall at a place that I work. Let's maybe I don't know if I thought that all the way through, but no, but I did. It's like a statement piece also because it has a name, but then it also is the mammogram and the date. Like
Wait,
it
what's
is
the name of the
a
piece?
stereo.
Oh, okay. Because there's two.
There are two breasts, images of two breasts on a white or black background
Oh,
facing each other.
wouldn't it be cool if there were headphones that were boobs?
Yeah.
You should make those as a
Oh,
secondary.
yeah. I think
There you
that's
go.
like super. Yeah. That's definitely an excellent addition
Yeah,
to my artwork pieces if I do that one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, but I have a couple that have more like pattern, play on pattern as well. So I've got like a set that are like very like minimal and then a set that has like pattern involved too. I'll share it
yeah.
with you. I'm actually going to post it on my stuff and start posting about my design and art endeavors. It's a goal of mine.
No one's ever
But
done that really. What if all your art was just casts of your boobs and that's what you were known for? Like you just had 300 pieces.
oh, I'm gonna keep doing some of it. Like ultimately, what I really wanted to do is like I ended up doing the paper on plywood, and I used
Mhm.
Mod Podge, and I glued it to the plywood. I went Mod Podged over all of it,
What
which
is
like
Mod Podge? What is
it's
Mod
like
Podge?
a glue. It's like a crafting glue, but it
Oh,
dries clear.
okay.
And there's like matte or gloss. You can get it with glitter in it. We have all types for projects and stuff like that. But you can use it for collage work, which is something that I'm also getting into. And I basically did a digital collage with some of these. In any case, I went through this process. What I really wanted to do was, but cost and time are an issue, but I will explore this, is to light them from behind.
Mm-hmm.
Have them like on Plex and have them lit, like
Mm-hmm.
with or without color using LEDs and program that. And we're talking about doing some LED programming with our music to have it like sound activated too.
Cool. No-
Because these are the kinds of things we want to get into. Like, why not do them for our music and combine all the things,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
figuring out ways to channel everything towards these like main
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah,
But
it's it.
I
Go
was
ahead.
like, I was nervous. Like, my whole point, real quick, is that like I was all nervous about it. They're up. Not a single person has said a damn thing about any of it.
Hmm.
And nobody cares. Not in a
Well,
bad
not
way.
only that, but
Not in a bad way, but
yeah.
like it's just nobody's thinking about it the way you are.
Oh,
So
of
just do
course.
your thing. That's my point. Do your
That's true.
thing. Don't even think about what other people are going to think about it because that's going to mess you up. All you've got to do is do the thing you know how to do,
Mm-hmm.
learn something new, hopefully, as you go to get things accomplished. And you have to like obviously have that goal to funnel things towards, like we're talking about, like what general things you want to accomplish, but you cannot know the end result. You cannot know how people will react, and you
Yeah,
can't care about it because like they're busy thinking about their stuff.
it's true. Yeah, and I told a guy there was a guy at the rock climbing gym when I was there yesterday who was like, I did something. He was like, "Oh, that's pretty good. How long you been climbing?" I was like, 22 years. He was like, 2 years? I was like, no, 22 years. I was
Yeah.
like, how long you been doing it? He's like, I just started. I was like, if you love it, you'll keep doing it. And that's what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
probably inappropriate for me to just get all profound on him, but no. But
No, you do you.
but that's the thing. Like, what you're saying is it's more, and that's the way I approached art initially, was it's more about I'm doing this for me. I enjoy the
Hmm.
process. I enjoy doing it. I'm listening to music and jamming out and just doing art.
Yeah.
It's cool what I'm creating. So
Yeah.
my need for approval switch kicked on at some point. I'm gonna have to turn it back off. But it's also possible people are not talking about your artwork because they're your boobs. And so people
Yes, I know. I know. That probably is. They're probably like, do I like say anything about how I like artwork or like
I like the art, but I don't want to talk
can
to her about
only
her boobs.
women maybe say that it's okay?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Just
And
get
yeah,
everybody in the room, maybe because you have a gun or whatever, and ask them what they think about your art.
well, I'd had guns after.
Did I say gun? I didn't mean that. Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, that was a
no.
bad idea.
Mm,
Okay.
no.
You guys. You're gonna tell me what you think about my art.
No, that would never happen.
Okay.
Just saying that out loud. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just, I think it's just, again, it's overthinking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like that just doesn't help. I'm just trying to lean more into the good impulses and reach out to people.
Well,
And
it's and approval is so weird. I like laughter because it's honest. They can't really control it if they
mm,
but there's so many times that people will say things to you and later you'll be like, were they just being nice? Or whatever. You can never be 100% sure even with positive feedback.
right.
Sometimes it's really
Was that a
clear.
real laugh or were
Huh.
they just being kind because they felt like they were expected to laugh?
That I don't really care about.
And
But
it'll hurt my feelings if it's not really funny.
no, see, that's the thing. That's why I think laughter is an honest form of feedback.
Yeah,
Um, there are many reasons why I wouldn't want to do drama like Linda does because she says you can tell if people are into it because there there's a vibe and an energy and a kind of silence to it that they're into it.
yeah, yeah.
But I would never want to deal with the praise afterwards and being like, yeah, okay, I don't know if I
It was so
believe
amazing how you went there. Like
it.
something like that.
No, man, I live there.
Oh God. Totally method.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but like there does seem to be like an approval thing. Maybe that's part of what it is.
Oh, with the fear of failure?
A seeking of approval of some kind.
It could just be too. Okay, so it's all wrapped up with we're social animals, so we can't. I think you'd have to have be extremely dysfunctional to not care at all what other people think.
Yeah.
And
Or
people are
like a
gonna,
sociopath, right?
yeah, exactly. Or people are gonna ask you why you're doing it, what are you doing, just because
Mm,
they're curious. And that could
right.
be a protective thing too. They're like, we don't want this person getting weird, going off the rails, or whatever. Who knows? There's
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff wrapped up with social stuff. And the thing is too, if you're not an explorer, discoverer, you don't understand it. And
Too uncomfortable even,
why
maybe.
would, yeah, why would you do that? Don't you already have your thing? Aren't you already? So I think that was that too. And you can't judge yourself according to their kind of not getting it.
I think that's I mentioned something before about being like we talked last time about being a mom
Yeah.
with ADHD and just honestly as a creative, it's very different than I think most people's day to day. And
Hmm.
there are a lot of people who like their thing is volunteering for these things or those things or being on this board or that board or I don't know what. But I have too much going on already myself and with my kids to do
Yeah.
some of the other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's just because I do these other projects and these
Hmm.
other like creative things. And I don't think that, and they take time. And it's something that you live and that you
Yeah.
do all the time. So it's just different. I don't just go to this sports ball game and do the PTO and whatever. Not that I'm knocking that. That's totally great. Everybody has to have different things. It's just not like mine,
Yeah.
you
Of
know?
course.
And I think, and so like people look at you or maybe think about you differently. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if they do. I feel
Maybe.
different.
Yeah. The thing is, it doesn't,
I feel like other
oh, do you?
sometimes.
I,
Yeah.
I think you are.
It's like people have told me before and Kevin in like interviews or certain situations, you're like a unicorn, like
Ah,
in that you are like I would say more like you would think of it as like a Renaissance person, like
yeah.
just somebody who because with the creativity and with the discoveritis ADD stuff, like we just know a lot about or like a decent amount about a lot of different things.
Interdisciplinary
And
studies.
so like being able to like from start to finish like certain design things or like being able to do
Hmm.
the music also and like fine art and like just wrapping all of these things in and being like able to accomplish things with each of these things. People are like, not everybody has that. Like a lot of people are specialized. And I always thought, oh man, I just didn't specialize in this one thing. But
Yeah.
like we said, like I also got into industrial design and I learned about the design of so many things. And what it really did is it opened up my world more
Hmm.
to what I can do as long as I can harness it and focus it in a way to help other people. That's where the work is.
Yeah. And personally, I love it. We can talk more about whether people understand it or not, but again, we'll never understand their perspective either. So,
No, no.
to me, what I love about it, and I don't know if this came from interdisciplinary studies or it just was coincidental that because I went there because I didn't know what I wanted to be or do, and that's why that fit, which probably meant I belong there. But what
Right.
I like about doing all these different things is I feel like they always give me an insight, a different insight I can take to another thing that I do. And so
Yeah.
it's almost like you get to walk around the elephant, the metaphorical elephant that people only see one part of, the trunk. They think the trunk is a snake and so on. But you get to see all these different sides of the elephant. You actually get a 3D
Yeah.
picture. What
Yeah.
is the elephant? And I think in this case, the elephant is what is it to be human? What are the potentials of being human?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if we've talked about this. The phrase jack of all trades,
Yeah.
master of none is
Yeah.
sometimes better than a master of one. That's
Yeah.
the full quote says it's actually better to be a jack of all trades.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not fucking kidding you. Let me find it real quick.
Oh, yeah. Because, yeah, at one point I was trying to think of what I was gonna call like the business that I've had in my brain forever, right?
Look at this. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Um,
That is the full quote, which the one specializers have weaponized against us.
I'm gonna use that quote. I'm
Yeah.
gonna use the stuff out of that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it is because what it honestly has done is it's made me two things. I have two thoughts I have about that. It's made me better at the positions that I've been in and that I will continue to be in because I can look at things from an overall broad, big picture kind of perspective and see all of the components and things and know enough about each of the components for the projects that I can work well with other people and don't have to do all of those things.
Yeah.
But I can work well with other people and understand the process
Right.
and the things that are involved and the things we need to look out for. The other thing is that it's then, of course, important to not get so because we can see things. Like I've always felt like, okay, I can see where this can go. Just
Hmm.
because I can see where it can go, if I want to start something new, like this podcast, like where could this podcast go? Oh, it could do this, it could do this, oh, it could become this. Yes, it could, but you might trick yourself into thinking that you're just already doing this big thing, right? Putting the work in first. And then the other side of that is you don't know when it's going to be. So that's something that can also easily get you to think, oh man, this really like, is this going to be anything? Like it could be these things, but
There's a good point.
I'm
Like,
going to overthink it and then be like, but I don't know if I can
for
do it.
example, I think here's an example of a good place it could go that you wouldn't expect is when I started doing stand up, I would assume naturally that if I progress, I would become a famous comedian or something.
Right.
But then I looked at that path. I actually did a podcast for a while where I interviewed a bunch of different comedy people that were successful and also in the middle of the process of becoming successful. And I realized I didn't want to go down that path. Like, I don't want to sleep on the floor of the comedy club because I can't afford a hotel because I'm a middler and I'm not making headliner money. But I never could have seen that I would meet somebody that could tell me how I could do this for keynote speaking to business audiences
Right.
when I'm also a business person, something that would fit incredibly better than that
Yeah.
stand up thing.
Yeah. Cause I really do think people are like, oh, things happen just the way they're supposed to.
Hmm.
I don't know about that, but I do know that I do feel like the things that we do, even if we don't always feel it at the moment, as long as we have this overall, I think we have this gut feeling. We know when things are right for us or when
Mm-hmm.
something is something that we need to do. And I think that even if we don't, it's not that thing we start doing initially, it's leading us to something that's right for us.
Yeah.
I think when you put that intention and that effort towards the thing, I think you're naturally going to progress and find your space, and it won't always be what you thought. I never thought I thought I would always be like only in design, like that I wouldn't necessarily be like on the kind of marketing advertising side of it at all. But I got into it and
Mhm.
I do enjoy it. I like having both.
Yeah.
I prefer design, but it's also something that I never thought I would get into or necessarily be a part of, but I am doing it and I'm doing it well. And I'm uniquely like qualified in a lot of ways to do it. And I wouldn't have necessarily thought that,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't like on my radar.
I think that's similar to for me being an entrepreneur, what you talked about of being good at a lot of things, or at least knowing where things should go. That can also make you a good manager, a good leader,
Yeah.
because you don't have to do all the parts.
User, like, yeah.
But if you want to, you can. A lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in this place where they and their spouse are doing everything and they can't let it go and won't invest in the business and hire people. But that's a whole other problem.
It is. Yeah. And I think that's a challenge too, because Kevin's advice from other people in business that he trusts, his dad or brother-in-law, and like some other people is like, oh, what about you need somebody else to take on the work to
Hmm.
like help out with some of the work. And it's like, yeah, but like, I don't want to manage people and I don't want to pay
Hmm.
somebody a rate that's not fair to do their work so that I can make money. That's not a model that we're okay with on a fundamental level. Like
Yeah.
we want people to get paid. So it's better for us to do partnerships.
Yeah.
And so it's like also about knowing your business. Like you can't always hire. It just depends on your
Yeah, I
business.
think a lot of it, like you said, it's do you want to be a manager? Do you want to have a big
Yeah.
company? What's your lifestyle and all that?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong. People survive and thrive and have great lives, not building a 10 to
Yeah.
100 person company. That's if it's not your passion to build a company that has 50 people in it, you're gonna hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is not where we are headed.
Yeah.
But like partnering and consulting and working with other individuals or like small businesses and things like that
Yeah.
to other designers to put together things for larger clients. Yeah.
I like
So
this. I don't know if we need to wrap up, but if we were wrapping up, I would say this whole thing is really about giving yourself permission to be who you are and to
yeah.
thrive with who you are and what you love to do and your talents. And part of that is with the ADHD topic is coming to understand who you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are. Maybe there are certain limitations, but also gifts involved in that. So
Right.
understanding who you are as an ADHD person, or whatever you are, accepting that, embracing it, and then
Hmm.
just fully committing to it.
Yeah, I think like ADHD or no, it's still about taking time to, and this goes back to also us saying you might not go to college, Indy,
Yeah.
like you might not. Who knows? You might want to, you might not want to, you might not need to. It's hard to say because you have your own path.
Yeah.
And it's really about focusing in and being true to yourself, the things that interest you, the things you want to explore, but also the things that you can, it's still about what you can do for other people. So it's still connecting with people in the area that you want to go and expressing that interest and like doing, putting your time and energy towards those things. If you're going
Hmm.
to do that, it's just about pulling into a focus on what that goal is. And that's something that I have not been doing or not been great at focusing and saying like this, I'm not just going to do what people give me as job opportunities. I'm going to decide what type of opportunities I want.
Mm.
And I'm going to actively like seek out those things and the people who are doing those things and tell them about what I've been doing and where I'm excited about this project that they've done and just get engaged in that world. And I think if you do that, you're naturally going to progress in that area, regardless of if you have like overall focus issues. It's still about being true to yourself and giving yourself the permission to explore those things and knowing that nobody has it figured out. I have talked to many people in many high positions who like they do not know any more than anyone else at any given moment. Like maybe they've spent time in an industry, so they have more like from that perspective. But everybody's just trying to figure it out and make it work.
Mm,
And so don't trick yourself into thinking that everybody else has it figured out and they've got it. They're doing it better than you. Put your head down, find
yeah.
your focus, and do it.
Yeah, that's that comparing your insides to other people's outsides. I was just talking to Linda about
Yeah.
that the other day. I was like, there's two things about like it hit me when I was like writing something for an ads person to maybe do ads for my keynote stuff, and I was writing this stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm a speaker. Oh, I had a lot of speaking clients. There's a part of me that didn't really, and a part of my identity
Mm.
that hasn't fully claimed that. And the other side of that is that if someone looked at me from the outside and the stuff I've done on my website and stuff, they'd be like, this guy's pretty accomplished. He's pretty successful. And he's doing his thing. It's all
Right.
solid, blah. But it doesn't feel like that on a day-to-day basis. I'm working on a new keynote for AI, and it feels horrible because I'm enjoying it, but I don't know how it's going to go over. I got new jokes. I
Yeah.
don't know if they're funny yet. And so this day-to-day experience that people have
Mm.
is totally different than what you think. It's you like, oh, and we do that. We do that with celebrities. We think, oh,
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger must always feel like he looks and like he speaks publicly. Whatever. Maybe that's a bad, but
No. Again, like just listening to this podcast that I was talking about before, it's still the same thing. There's still always those ups and downs, and
yeah.
especially for like celebrities too. Like honestly, because it's all out there, and like, as soon as the thing's done, there's no guarantee about the next thing. It's the same
Hmm.
with our business. There's no guarantee of a next project. So there is a lot of uncertainty, and it's
Yeah.
not always easy. But it's like, what else are you gonna do? You
Yeah.
gotta, you gotta go for it and do the things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just hard to, I forget, I had like some other thought in there, but I lost it.
Yeah, oh, me too. Shoot, I lost my thoughts. We both lost our thoughts. ADD, we need a song for that. But what's the song for losing for brain dead? I went brain dead. I had a really good
Mm,
thought and it's gone. Let's talk about something else instead. Give it a moment. Talk about what you were talking about before. It'll come back.
uh, yeah, I think, oh, yes, it's about recognizing your accomplishments,
Hmm.
like recognizing your own accomplishments. I think it's so easy for us to like, just people to be like, oh, like it's somebody, like, again, it's like that friend thing. What would your friend say? Your friend would say to me, oh, you've you've been in bands, you've toured with bands, you've had all these experiences there, you went to design school, you spent 15, 20 years, whatever, in industrial design, retail design, you're still playing music, like you're an accomplished person.
Yeah.
Marketing, you're like, you're doing all this stuff, like you've done all these things, you have all this experience. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am an expert. I'm not an expert, but I have expertise in this area.
Yeah.
And like giving and really recognizing that within yourself to not to be like, oh, look what I've done, but like have confidence and
Yeah.
self-esteem. Have esteem for yourself and the things that you've accomplished and know that you're still doing things and getting better at things. And recognize that because it's just too easy to think that everybody else is like some expert and you're like, okay, I hope they like this or I hope I do a good job. It's no, you're going to be fine. You've
Hmm.
always figured it out and done these things. So it's again, it's just, I think there's like a confidence thing there. And we can talk about this another time. Like I do see it with Indy as he gets a little bit older too. And that's why I think it's like probably somewhat tied to ADHD or whatever's going on in my noggin, our noggins, like from a hereditary standpoint. But just that self-esteem and that confidence and like
Yeah.
recognizing those strengths and those accomplishments.
Yeah.
like really fully like internalizing them.
Yeah, that's a big topic. And I think
Yeah.
it's something too that I assume people work on their whole life to a degree. I think you get more, if you're going the right direction, you do get more confidence and you do, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it stops being something of an issue.
No, I don't think it does. And I think especially like people our age, I've heard a couple other celebrities and some recent things like talking about this too, just about they have very real or sorting like dealing with the same exact things
Yeah.
right now that we're talking about a
We don't
number
even think
of
about it. If you're like, oh, you watch Christian Bale movies and you're
yeah
like, oh, he's amazing, but he might be going like, what am I doing next? I don't have anything. Who knows? Or he might
yeah
be like, I've got a bunch of things, but I don't know what direction I want to go next. I don't like any of those things. Everybody's,
everybody's just human and that's why and then I always say this, you've probably heard me say this before, but it's just when people are like, oh, that celebrity needs to stop talking about that stuff, just like act. Or like, why don't you just sing and stop like telling me what to do with the environment or whatever it is.
oh yeah.
Because they're human and they have every right to thoughts and opinions and can gain knowledge and tell people about that just like any other person. They just happen to have a platform to be able to do it. And so kudos to them for taking the time to do that and deal with people who want to be all negative on the other side of it. You
Yeah,
know?
that's just a dumb argument. I hope you can't
Yeah,
hear my dogs, but Linda just came home. But you could say the same thing. Why don't you just give me the news and stop giving your opinion? You could say that to
right,
anybody about
right.
anything.
Totally. And it's because whatever, like everybody's viewpoint is valid. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, that I like continually tell myself that has helped me a lot, that I hope my kids can, I really want to impart to them is you belong in any room that you're in.
Mm,
Like you are allowed to take up space.
yeah.
You are allowed to be too much for other people, but just know that you might be too much for other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
I
can,
think it's
but like you,
yeah.
all of your thoughts and opinions and feelings are valid. Every single person on this earth.
Even the
And
serial
anybody,
killers. Yeah.
huh?
Even the serial killers.
I was just going to say, even people who do terrible things,
Ah,
however,
yeah.
we all have to deal with, we don't have to agree with it. We have to know there's probably something wrong in those people's brains. It doesn't excuse any of it. And they absolutely deserve to be dealt with in whatever fashion. But but seriously, like the reason, albeit probably maybe a chemical brain thing for somebody who kills other people, I don't know. It's still there's still a person who had maybe some traumatic experience. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry I threw you off with the serial killer thing.
we're still a human.
Yeah.
Psycho killer,
What song is that?
oh, you run away, psycho killer.
Oh, Psycho Killer. Yeah, no. I go back to your point. I think what you're getting at, which is a whole other topic we can do later, is like
Oh,
how do you fully be yourself, but also still include and respect other people? And that's, yeah.
ooh, I think that'd be a really interesting topic for a friend of mine as a guest, maybe if she's willing to do it. But
The friend cast.
actually, like a couple.
I see. I like this. We talked about this before. I think bringing on family and friends is a really cool idea because experts are great, but like, what I like about what we're doing is it's really in the life experience. It's
Yeah,
not abstract. It's not just concepts and
yeah,
getting really into the muck of what relationships and life is like when you experience it with these issues. I think
yeah,
it's a powerful thing. Hopefully people will relate to it and it'll make them think.
yeah. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Your
tune
idea
in
is valid,
anyway.
Brian.
At least I love. I was saying to my friend Becca earlier that at the very least we get together once a week and have great conversations together because
Yeah.
that's what we were doing anyway. And I just I get so much out of it, and it feels like therapy. And I'm not going to therapy right now, but I have our conversations, which I was almost like, I liked having a Wednesday and Friday one. I was
Oh yeah.
on Wednesday, I was like, wow, gosh, I wish we were talking today because that's fun. Because I have fun doing it. But it's also, it's, yeah, like I also have a really great relationship with my husband, and we have great conversations on that side. So like between those two things, I feel really like good and positive, and I'm working through a lot of things.
Mm.
At the very least, we're helping me.
Oh yeah. That's the most important thing.
But it goes back to that, who cares if you're looking at it from a negative perspective, like who cares about what I'm going to say? That's what every single person who does a podcast has thought
Yeah.
before doing their podcast. Like
Yeah.
they did it anyway. And the ones that I've listened to, just listen to other people shoot the shit about like their life and maybe some philosophical things like we're doing. I have found it very entertaining, very helpful, insightful, and I hope that happens for other people listening to what we're doing.
Yeah. Or
Anyone,
they could
you
start a
know,
podcast,
they
and everyone can
can.
have a podcast.
Anybody can. Well, I mean,
Everybody's
that's the thing too. It's like
like
everybody can do, again, like somebody else doing a podcast, even if they try to do the same style that we're doing, it doesn't take away from yours.
they can't do it our style.
But everybody's got their thing to contribute.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if somebody like tries to do the same kind of music as you, or if you're doing collage art and everybody does collage art, or it's still you're still doing your thing. You got to
Yeah.
do your thing.
Yeah.
Yay. Like that wrap. Did we wrap it up?
I think we wrapped it. Mind Jazz number 3.
Jazz number 3.